So I start with the question here, and I'm gonna skip it to here. Have you done anything to help anyone or to just change anyone's life at all recently? Well, I did, and that's why I'm here. And that brings me to another point too, which, I mean, it's kind of a taste thing, but there's also an answer for the mustache, so we'll get to that. So we'll start with my Uncle Luis Geraldo from Brazil. It's a tough story. I'm sorry it's not that positive right now, but still, it'll get better. My Uncle Luis was diagnosed about 3 years ago with cancer. So that was kind of a shock for both him and our whole family, since, I mean, he was young, healthy, there was nothing wrong with it that we knew about it, and it just came up one day and we just had to deal with it. Uncle Luis was a very positive guy, was a very funny guy. He was also just very motivated, trying to motivate everyone else. Working hard, he was an agronomist, and working with organic tomatoes in Brazil, he was very persistent, excuse me. So Uncle Luis' journey brings me to kind of the beginning of my Movember journey, and I'll explain to you guys a little more about it. Uncle Luis, in and out of hospitals, was complicated to the whole family, of course, for him as well. All the chemo, all the treatment, everything like that was the first time that I had kind of have that first contact with cancer. So that was a very complicated experience, but he was also always very happy, always making fun of the doctors and everyone. They would give him, I don't know, morphine, and they would just make fun, like it was drugs or something. So he always kept us all motivated to be around him. We skip a little bit to another person too. This is Mr. Dan Jones. Dan Jones was my English teacher in Roseau High School. So if we backtrack a little bit, like it was told about me, yes, I'm from Brazil. Not all Brazilians come with a mustache, Laddie proved it. Mr. Jones was the English teacher in Roseau High School, where I went for an exchange program back in 2016. I gotta say this, it was random. I didn't choose Roseau, I wanted Hawaii, but they placed me way up there. If you know where Roseau is, Roseau, Minnesota is 9 miles from Canada, way up north, so I did not choose the cold, the cold chose me. So I went there, and it was hard. It was the first time I had changed schools at all. So Mr. Dan Jones, as my professor, would always talk to me and ask questions about Brazil at the end of the class, and he would always be like, so how is it? Do you have any friends already? And do you play hockey? And well, he clearly had never been to Brazil before, but no, I don't play hockey. Dan Jones didn't realize that by doing that every day after class with me, he was someone that was extremely important for my journey as building character, building everything, including at the end to how we got to Movember. He was the person that probably motivated me the most about reading. I'm not an avid reader of books, but his class was totally different than any other English class that I've ever had, and he was totally motivating to just be there, and he definitely changed my life by that too. So why am I mentioning both of these people? It's because these are pivotal people to my journey, both as a student, both as a person, and both as a Mo Bro, as we call the Movember brothers. So yes, we're back to the mustache. That's the ugly and weird mustache. Not everyone thinks like that, that's why I'm wearing one. But we do have a saying, the worse the mustache, the best the conversation starter. Why do I say this? You're gonna understand in a second. So let's backtrack it to October of 2019. I was in my Westnar Hall. Anyone here from Westnar? There you go. Westnar Hall, just sitting there and on my phone, swiping through Instagram and just scrolling now and not doing much. Should be doing homework. And I see this weird picture of mustaches, and one of them is Bear Grylls, yeah, the guy from the Survival shows, you know him, and Matthew McConaughey. And Bear Grylls was the person that I saw that was the first one that rocked a mustache since before or after the 70s, probably. The only mustache connection that I had before that was probably seeing my dad's pictures in college when they were drinking or something. So that just was something totally different for me, and I looked into it, and I found out about Movember. Movember is a mental health and cancer prevention society. It is the biggest men's health organization in the world, and I knew nothing about it. I never heard about it. So I started looking into it, thought it was interesting, and didn't really care much. Just left a like in there and just carried on with my day. Well, October of 2019, at the end, I planned our schedule for the MSUM Wellness Center for November, and I realized that we needed something interesting other than posts. We needed an event. Well, that was the same week that I found out some horrible news. So one day on that same dorm, I'm on my phone, and I look at my phone, and it's just popping with messages on Snapchat, like many of you probably see on a daily basis. And I see that it's my friends from Roseau, and I didn't really expect anything too out of the ordinary. I open it, and unfortunately I see the news. Mr. Dan Jones had passed away, possibly by suicide. And at that moment I was like, that's probably wrong. Someone's saying something wrong. He was literally the funniest teacher I ever had in my life, and that just didn't make sense. So I looked into it, and yes, it was true. He had. Later on, his family came and told everyone in the city, since Roseau is a 2,600 people city, and it's just tiny, everyone knows everyone. Everyone was moved by the situation, and they came out and told everyone that yes, he had depression for his whole life, had battled it, and due to just the lack of any resources and treatment, he just had to deal with it his whole life, and just didn't do enough for it. And unfortunately, that ended up in the worst way possible. Why am I telling you this is part of Movember is cancer prevention, part of Movember is mental health. At that moment, I felt sad, I felt mad, I felt like I should have done something, although I probably couldn't. I didn't even have that much contact with Mr. Jones since high school graduation years ago. But I just felt like I should have done something that I didn't do. It just wasn't enough. And on my Instagram on that same day, I saw Movember again. So I decided I had to do something about it, and I decided to create something with Movember. Looked into it, recruited some people at MSUM, and came up with the idea of creating our first Movember MSUM here and doing something. Before that, though, we did a running challenge, 60 miles on the month of November at the MSUM Wellness Center for 60 men that take their own lives every day around the world, every hour. Those are horrible statistics, and that's why we're here doing that. Well, the challenge wasn't a Super Bowl, but some people did hear about it. It was a success too. And that led us to actually be able to create something from it, which was our first org and group on campus. We're gonna fast track to the picture. Yes, you guys have no idea how many people message us on a weekly basis saying that we're stupid and that we misspelled our name. We do know that is November for the month and not Movember, but here's the catch. Mustache is a very manly thing, so that's Movember's symbol for calling attention, and that's where it comes from. Since November is the month for men's health, we decided to adopt that and mix with the mustache. So there you go, Movember for mustache, mixed with November. Well, again, we managed to do an amazing job in recruiting some people after I got recruited by Movember to start the first Movember group in Minnesota, the first Movember group in most of the Midwest, actually. No one's really talking about men's health in the Midwest, unfortunately. And that with the task of finding an amazing group of people to take on that challenge, we found Zach. I see Zach there. Thank you, Zach, for coming. And Marissa is there too, our photographer, and a few other people that played an amazing job into this campaign from last year. And we're gonna take a look at that real quick. We worked through COVID. I think everyone here knows how COVID was. It wasn't very fun. COVID was the biggest challenge for us to reach men. Imagine having to talk to men without being able to physically talk to men about something in their health. That was definitely a toll that it took on us. We were definitely struggling every day. But we found out that through many virtual options and many campus events, we were actually able to reach men out and change something. And well, I told you this story because my uncle came to pass away as well, unfortunately. Mr. Jones passed away, unfortunately, for two problems that shouldn't be that big of a problem. We know how bad cancer is, we know how bad mental health is, and we know that men don't talk to each other. And that is a chronic issue that men have. And if there's something that we can try to change in our fathers, uncles, grandparents, or ourselves from now on, it's that we should be talking about it. You shouldn't have to leave that, and you shouldn't have a loved one go through it. So, the month of November came again. We prepared, we did multiple events, and we reached multiple people. We raised over $500 with barely having any events due to COVID. Everything was canceled, which was a big win for us. And for the first time in the state of Minnesota and most of the Midwest, we were able to talk to people about it. So if there's something that I can leave you here tonight is, you're gonna do many things in life. Whatever you do, try to help someone. Try to do something out of the ordinary and try to spread words, spread ideas that will actually hit someone in a positive way. Zach, everyone else in our team, were there multiple times with me without getting paid, without having to be there or anything, but because they knew it was gonna help someone. They went home, they talked to their families, and we actually found out that some of our own members, or one of our own members, dad actually had prostate cancer, and now he has more information about it. So if you can go home tonight and take a message from this day, and more specifically my presentation is, talk to men. Help me change that behavior. Help me change that mindset that they can't do it. Don't let them think they have to figure it out and do all of that by themselves. And help me save lives by forging and by speaking up both a change in behavior and something new that is going to help someone. So thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.